DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
You're tuned in to DJNTV Live with your host, Brian S. Red.
And now we are live tonight, where we're going to be discussing exactly how you can become a better person in the world of DJ.
It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It has.
Yeah.
It's that time.
It's been 2 weeks since we've been on together.
Is it, Ben? It seems like forever.
2 weeks. Well, at least 2 weeks.
At least. Because there was that thing and then that thing, and there's family things going on and travel.
Right. Right. So here we are.
Here we are. We're back.
And we have a topic, and we'll see what we can do about staying on it. And
So anyway, let's talk about the Chicago White Sox.
yeah. Yeah.
Stay right on topic.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Trying to get rid of this over here on the side. I had this all weird for the chat last week, so now my windows just looks kind of bizarre, but we'll be all right. So welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in with John and I. And this week we're going to talk about managing your DJs. If you're a multi-op or a club and you have a staff of DJs that you have to manage, how are you doing it? And we're also going to talk about those who are being managed. Some of us work for several different outfits, be it nightclubs or multi-ops or agents. They all probably have a very different way to find out what your schedule is and how they're bringing you into their fold.
Mm-hmm.
What works well, what doesn't work well. I asked this question in the video today, and I got like maybe a reply. A lot of views, but nobody really had any input on it, so we're going to kind of wing it, I think.
Yeah. That won't be a problem. This is an area in which I have been on both sides of the
right
in all aspects of it, so we can dive right in.
Good.
I'll let you start.
Talk about it a little bit. Well, I don't know. There are things that work and things that don't work, I guess. And I think, well, in the old days, it was a phone call.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start now. So if we're talking about a relationship between a DJ, a multi-system owner, or the manager of, and let's look at the multi-system side of it first, and then we'll get into the club side of it. Okay. As the owner of a business, when I had staff, there's just some unwritten rules that are in leadership and management of things you do. The idea is success, and we've talked about this in the past, is success is a team success. If we're going to be successful, the whole team has to be successful. If there's failures or if there's problems, as the boss, it's my responsibility. It's my fault.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean it's always I might have a DJ or staff person who screwed up. But you know what? I'm the one who has to take responsibility for it, because either I didn't prepare them well enough, I didn't get them the resources for them to be successful, I didn't, whatever I didn't do, or I hired a stupid person. That's legitimate part of it. But the idea is that success is the team's success. Failure is something I have to take responsibility for as the leader of it. And as someone who has been worked under others within that, one of my biggest frustrations is when I have someone who I am working under and they throw you under the bus for whatever reason because something happened,
Right.
and that's a frustration, or that you know that they could be preparing you and doing things, but they have short circuit, too much to the point where, I mean, there's a level of giving them the freedom to do what they need to do. And then there's a time where that you're just so ill prepared that you walk into a wedding and you're like, okay, I know the bride and groom's name and I know their first dance. That's it. And then everything else I have to try to wing it.
Right.
So what's your experience? Now you started and you worked under some DJs in your early year, kind of mentoring you and such.
Yeah. Well, it was the skating rink, and I can tell you that was more like what I guess you would consider a residency, because I was the Friday night guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was always there on Friday, unless I took off. And I would say to them, hey, next month, going on a trip with my family, whatever the case might be. And in that case, they would know, okay, we've got to go ahead and bring somebody else in for that Friday. He's going to be gone. And it was the same thing with the club I worked. I was the Friday night guy at the club too.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for 7 years in the 90s. And unless they wanted me for a different night, they'd let me know and we'd work that out but well ahead of time, or I took off. I was there every Friday. Where it got weird was with the multi-op, because that was different.
Mm-hmm.
When you're actually doing mobile stuff. I typically worked every Saturday. Sometimes I worked Fridays and Saturdays. There was a lot of work back in those days for me to do. It was something. I was usually on the schedule because I was pretty dependable. And, but yeah, I mean, they would pretty much, you'd let them know, hey, look, I'm going to be gone this weekend or whatever. But it was a consistent thing where you were always assumed to be working.
Mm-hmm.
You were working like every Saturday or every Friday and Saturday or whatever the case was at the time.
And you mentioned just a second ago that there was a lot of work. And I think that's one of the situations in some markets and some companies, they have a lot of work, but the things have changed from when you and I were younger, where we could go out and basically on almost any street corner find a gig. I think those days,
I'm working 15 gigs this year. I'm not hitting it hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's a personal choice. I'm just getting tired, guys. I'm still working, but I'm doing a lot of other things here behind the scenes, and I'm not trying to be out there dealing with 30 brides this year. I just don't want to do it. I'm limiting that. So it's less stress, less to worry about, and I'm still cool. But anyway, yeah, if it's a consistent thing, I think, where it's just assumed you're working every Friday or every Saturday, be it a multi-op or be it a club or whatever, whoever the owner is assumes that's what you're going to do. You're going to be there on Friday or Saturday, unless you tell them otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And
right?
Because of that consistency, there are expectations that have been either learned or have evolved due to your consistent time there. So there aren't a lot of questions. You know how to react if this happens in this situation,
right.
and different things. And those things have been accepted and understood by both yourself and the manager who's overseeing you. Yeah. We get into that mobile world, as you said, it's a different beast, and there's so many different things that change and such, and it becomes really, really difficult as an employee now to, so last week, everything, we kind of, there's some things that I can relate from last week and the week before, or unfortunately, because there aren't as many opportunities, maybe 2 weeks ago and 2 months ago, the work. So now I need to have almost more connection and more communication. And I think that's really an area where we assume that because we, as the owner of the company, we've been doing this for 20 years. Everyone should know how to do that. How can they not know that? I mean, isn't that just basic DJ that that you don't play the beginning of that song? We don't play the beginning of Baby Got Back. You go and you pick it up right there. There's just little things, and that's maybe not a great example, but
no, it is actually a very good example. I mean, typically what I'm just for fun while we're talking about the song, what I like to do is play the "Oh My God, Becky" over whatever I'm coming out of, like a little louder. So some people hear it, some people don't. Mm-hmm. But as soon as the other song's over, it kicks in. So I time it that way. But I totally understand what you're saying. That's how I like to do it. It's almost a tease.
Yeah, just a little tease over the other hand. play that every once in a while. And then all of a sudden, okay, so I did that at a show once, and I was doing the tease thing, and then for some reason I don't know what I did, but I ended up like bumping the song out of the playlist. So the next song that came up, and I was ready to go, and I was like, that. And then I was like, and someone were like, oh yeah, baby, and they were the other song still going. And then when I went to start the song, it's like, how the hell did another song get in? I don't know. So the next song wasn't "Baby Got Back." It was, I don't know, probably, "You're the Inspiration" or something from Chicago Slow. Something completely off the wall that didn't. You're teasing us. And you go
where and somebody was asking if it was Safe House. Yeah, Safe House. I was down there from, I think, 91 till almost 97. I left Safe House the week my daughter was born, and I never went back. It's just, I had a baby, and I didn't have a baby. We had a baby. I had a baby to deal with, and I didn't want to be gone on Fridays for the baby, so I stopped. And I missed it. I wish I'd have gone back. They kept calling me and saying, you're this is your home. You come back anytime. And it was just the position I was in at the time where I couldn't do it. But I missed it a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's
but
definitely.
Anyway, enough about Safe House.
Definitely times.
Today, where we're talking about, like, my current situation is this. I book my own jobs, right? So I've got those on a calendar. But I also have an agent that books work for me. Now, they need to know when they can book work for me and when they can't. So what they have done, and this is a relatively recent thing, it used to be done via email and all this stuff. But what they've done, and I like it, there's an online calendar.
Sure.
That I can log into. I believe the software name is Overture.
Yep.
I've never heard of it anywhere else, but they have it. And what I can do on Overture software is I can log in with my login, and I can block out any dates I want, whether it be I'm booked for a job, or it could be that I have a family obligation, or it could be it's Christmas Eve and I'm not working, dude. Whatever the case might be. I can block out dates, or maybe I'm traveling. Maybe I'm going to Mobile Beat or DJ Expo or something,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of let them, excuse me, know what I'm doing. So when they get a call, they don't have to call me and confirm if I'm available or not, because the date is open on the calendar. I'm willing to work that date if they can book it. If there's a date that I feel like, you know what? I don't want my agent to have that date. I want to keep that date. I want to book it myself, whatever date that might be. Maybe it's New Year's Eve. Maybe it's, some date that I just think is hot and I'd rather do myself. I'll block it. Now, what I can do on some of these dates as well is, like, let's say, just for instance, John, let's say that you have a really strong July where you usually are always working in July.
Yep.
And you know this. So for 2019, you go in and you block out all your July stuff. Like every Friday, Saturday, whatever, you write pending on there or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you start booking things for July. Let's say you miss a week in July that you don't book. If you have pending on there, then when my agent looks at that calendar, they can say, okay, it just says pending. I'm going to call them. Brian, it says pending on the 12th. You got something there or not? And I can look back and I say, you know what? I don't. I thought I was going to book it, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Or alternately, I get somebody who calls me and says, we really want you for May 18th. And I say, okay, cool. And I, block the date for them. But then it turns out that they were looking for a $350 DJ, and it didn't work out. So, and then I forget to take the reservation off. I always write pending on there until I book it. If I forget to take the reservation off, then again, the agency can call me. Hey, you've got a pending here for the 18th. So, that didn't work out. Go ahead and book me. You see what I'm saying? It's really a nice system. Mm-hmm. I like it a lot. I think it works well. Because I'm busy doing my thing. They're trying to do something for me. It's cool. And I'm not locked in anything. I can pick and choose the dates I want to work.
And for those of you who are wondering about Overture, Overture is designed for booking agents. Basically, the agent can book acts and such, and that you believe it's UK based is what Overture's. And it's not a cheap device, but as an agent, I can have unlimited artists and they can do their things, and as Brian said, they can have their login and do their stuff. Now in the DJ realm, for a multi-system DJ, this is what DJ Event Planner and some of the others, of course, do also, but DJ Event Planner is what I'm the most familiar with, where as an owner, I have my DJs, my staff, and they can go and they can log in and do their thing. The biggest difference is that an agent, the agent you're working with, Brian, he's probably working with 50 to 100 people.
Well, there's bands,
there's all sorts of.
It's not just DJ.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things, and there are a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot, and very few DJ, and there are some DJ companies that are multi-entertainment companies that have the same things, and they do manage it through DJ Event Planner. But for most of us, I've got 10 people on staff. We run 7 shows on a weekend, and those 10 people are into my DJ Event Planner system, and they can go. And when I had a multi-system company, that's what we used, and it worked wonderful. Brian Hines here, who has a very nice multi-system company, this is what they use, and they use it very very aggressively. He does a really nice job with it. I've actually seen some of the things that he's talking in the past. It's great stuff, and I think that opens the door. The communication, you were kind of talking about that. You're able to communicate scheduling and such, but how is when an agent books something for you, and the communication when it comes to what you need to do to perform the event? I mean, what kind of things do you do along the lines of that to make sure it's a success?
Yeah, that varies. It depends. It depends. I mean, for what they usually end up doing for me, it's pretty straightforward. All I really want to know are times and kind of generally, it's a phone call, and I'll write a timeline out for it. I'll get some information, but sometimes the information it's just that even the font isn't the font I want to read at a gig when I print it out. I redo everything. So I make a phone call and I say, look, I'm going to put this together for you. I'm going to do timeline for you. Let's talk about this is what I have. What do you have? What do we want to do? Oh, what about this, and this? Because that wasn't on the sheet. Oh yeah, because it's an agency who does all kinds of entertainment. They're not just doing DJs. Yeah. So DJ Event Planner is very DJ, and it's wedding, and this is what they do because they're doing a lot of things.
Yeah, they definitely have that.
So I'm writing it out by hand, and I have no problem doing that. It's fresh in my mind. I prepared the timeline, so I understand it. There's no questions in there for me. You know what I mean? If somebody else does it for me, I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah, exactly. What did they mean by that?
I really don't like online forms for that. And a lot of people love it, and it works for them. But I dislike it for the same reason. It's to drag, really, in today's day and age, just to download all your music. Because you don't have a chance to physically look at it and read it. There's an excuse not to, because you downloaded it. You can put it in your hard drive and forget about it.
Yeah.
Where in the old days, we were hand picking records to go in our set. We knew exactly what they were. That's the same reason that I don't like the online forms, because people can write things in those forms and change things. And, well, if I just write here, that there, he'll probably understand what I want. No, none of that crap. No guesswork. I'm talking to you. We're writing this out. Mm-hmm. My brain understands it very well. I online calendar, I love. Online forms to fill out for a DJ, I dislike. For especially for a wedding. Oh.
And I think
make my head explode.
And speaking of forms and such, now going back to when I had a staff with me, one of the important things is kind of what you're talking about, where you're putting that timeline together for them and you're communicating with them and talking to them and saying, hey, what do you want to? And that's something that even with no matter which planning system or methodology you're using, that communication with the client is something that can make and break the event, or make and break where people aren't. The bride picked out 2 songs and she put a couple of weird notes on these songs, and I don't understand it. Well, mm-hmm. As the manager, the owner of it, I could say, well, when we talked about booking, I think this is what she meant. Or we talked, on a phone. She called one day and she was like, and this is, I think, what she meant. And as opposed to the communication, I think in this day and age, we're so, we want to send a text message to someone, or we want to Facebook message them, and we don't want to talk to them on the phone and ask a question, because sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to look foolish.
Well, the first time I really recognized it, because I never personally used it, but my agency used it. And I used to print the thing out, and it was so confusing. I rewrite it sometimes, but sometimes I just print it out and go. The questions that they asked the clients were almost like they were baiting them to do things that I don't think they would have done otherwise. I'll give you an example. They had a little column, a little area there in their questionnaire that said must play. And then they had a little column that said don't play. That was baiting the client to come up with songs that they didn't like. And they would write them all down. And sometimes you get a huge list of don't plays. And it's like, I'm starting to question this afterwards. Like, why have you asked me not to play all these songs? Oh, I'll just ask the question. I just wrote down some stuff, But it's just so bizarre to me. Most of the time when I'm doing a wedding, the client's not dancing the whole time. The client's socializing. They're getting pictures. They're talking to people. But, the guests are dancing. Who cares what I'm playing? As long as the guests are entertained. They don't know this until their wedding's over with. Doing a wedding reception is so bizarre in that regard. It's not like doing a New Year's Eve party, because people have been to a New Year's Eve party. They've probably had New Year's Eve parties before. It's not usually someone's first New Year's Eve party when you're DJing it. They've been doing this for a very long time. They've been having parties for a long time. They know what works. They know what doesn't. They discovered this a long time ago. With the wedding, it's different. It's a one-time deal. Usually, when they're spending the big bucks, it's a one-time deal. Second, third marriages, okay, yeah, sometimes they go crazy with it, but most of the time, it's not such a big deal. That first marriage, and they got all these ideas, and they've got all of these wishes and dreams.
Yes.
Things they've been fantasizing about since, the girl has been playing Barbies in her room, and Ken's the groom and Barbie's the bride, and we're doing it like this. They've been planning this shit since they were 3, So it's hard to argue with them because they got their heart set on. It's a very emotional thing. It's a very personal thing. But some stuff doesn't work. And it's very difficult to have somebody fill out a form and send it to you, and you're looking, it's like, this is a train wreck. And then when you do email back, this is a train wreck. We have to fix this. It's best just to plan this together. Look, I understand what you want here. And I want your personality to be so reflected in this event. Let me make a suggestion because I think this works well. Talk to, oh, I like that. Let's do that. I think that'll work really well for you. And I know you want this, but I got a neat idea how to do this where I think it'll just flow real well. And what if we did this and this? Oh, yeah, let's do that. It's so much easier just to talk to these people instead of just having them fill out a cold form. We're not baiting them. And then they're not just making stuff up and putting it in the little other section. And you're looking at it like, what? A hot air balloon? What the hell is this? We got to talk about this. That's real. That's happened.
Yeah.
I'm not making it up.
No,
There was a hot air balloon. What is this? It's after dinner. Oh, don't mention it. It's a surprise. Don't mention it to who? Can I talk to anyone about this? Who do I call? No, we got to talk. We have to talk. It's the online forums in that regard just drive me absolutely crazy. I don't think I've punctuated that point enough. But yeah, the calendar is wonderful. I think it works really well. I think it's a great solution. But what I was really looking for today was to see if anybody who is the Ultimate Warrior, why are they being a twat?
We are having we've not had this before. We had Hulk Hogan come in here and talk about having something, and now this Ultimate Warrior character. So
nice. Thanks for trolling us. It's really cool.
Yeah. So
hey, at least we're somebody. We're getting trolled. That's pretty cool.
Jesse Lamel asked a question about agents. How much do they usually typically cost, or what do they do?
Well, I don't think it's a normal thing. I don't think agencies are very normal for DJs. I used to think they were, but apparently not. Milwaukee is a very has always been a party city. They party at the drop of a hat. I know my first sister got married, lived in California, went to the church, she got married, went outside, threw the bouquet, came to my parents' house, unwrapped some gifts. It was over. I mean, that's what a wedding was.
Mm-hmm.
When we moved to Wisconsin, it was like, no, it's a party. It's always a party. There's always beer. There's always food. Very German influenced.
Yeah.
Here with that, because they're like that in Germany too. And now it's all over the country. It's just spread. So, where the hell was I going with that? I don't even know. What was I saying? What was the question? I am so sorry. Oh, somebody was asking me about something. Agents.
Agency, yeah.
Yeah, so the agents have been here for a very long time because they were not only doing bars, but they were doing like Holiday Inns, like the lady who owns the agency that I work with, her father started it in the 40s.
Oh my.
Yeah. And what he used to do was the Holiday Inn would call and say, yeah, we need a band in here. And he would say, okay, Roy and his crazy piano, you're going to work at the Holiday Inn. And Roy and his crazy piano would work at the Holiday Inn for 15, 20 years.
My.
And her dad would just collect a check every week from that because the booking agent landed the gig and he got it. The charges vary. It just kind of depends. It used to be closer to 20%, but it keeps creeping into the 30% range or a third, which is really harsh, especially when they don't want to always put a lot of effort into selling the services of the DJ. What I feel like that my agency did, and my agency, primarily band, but then they started getting into DJs like maybe 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think their idea was, hey, if they can't afford a band, we'll give them a DJ.
Yeah.
But now, is there really that much of a price difference sometimes?
Not really.
No. Why? Because we're not the booby prize anymore.
Not the booby prize, and then you've got the situation where some bands are going out for $400 or $500, with a 3-piece band, and just
so. I mean, my agency's been really good to me. I love them; they're good people, but they don't book me a lot anymore, quite frankly, because I'm demanding too much money, and they don't have a lot of high-end calls, and even if they do, they're not even sure how to sell me. So I'm better off selling myself.
Mm-hmm. By far.
Unless I want to go out, and work for $650 or whatever.
And there's times where that's not a bad gig.
Sometimes I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But not every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
June, July. No, let's not do that. When I can, book my own stuff on the low end of 1,000, which is what it is. Now, I mean, I tell people, look, we can do $1,000. That's a deal, and they're like really happy to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But typically it's more. It's just what it is. We put a lot into this. We're not just guys who show up and play tunes anymore.
No, not so much.
People want a lot of stuff, and we've educated ourselves with all aspects of this. Not only the entertainment portion of the evening, the emceeing part. Some of us have had formal training with public speaking. Just our knowledge, general knowledge of building quality PA systems, not like the old days when it was ear bleeding stuff or whatever the band sold used. Lighting, we're doing DMX stuff, we're doing all LED, we're doing architectural lighting that complements the room opposed to making it look like a circus. It's a very different animal than it used to be. So we can't go in there for a few $100. It just doesn't work that way.
No, not anymore.
We got every damn song. Can't make any mistakes because everybody's watching all the time.
They are. And they're putting it up on YouTube, bastards.
Yeah, they are. Or I am.
One of us are. It's going to
Somebody's putting it on
There's
YouTube.
A gig log about to happen.
But yeah, the agency's a kind of a rare thing though, and they I don't work for them; they work for me. If you work for a multi-op, then you're going out as Super Sound DJ service, whoever the multi-op is. With the agency, I'm going out as me. Just try to call me.
I don't know. My phone's. I've had 5 different calls here.
Telemarketer.
Yeah, I had to shut stuff off because I was having a bunch of calls come through here.
Yeah, it's Van Halen Eruption's my ringtone.
Yeah,
It's been for a couple of years.
I was gonna say mine was, or I should say mine is. I'm using a Van Halen tune also, but before this iPhone, I had the actual track. Now it's a cover band doing it. It's just
MIDI file or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like sucks. It's like I love my iPhone 6.
Android rock, man.
So just to kind of for those who, if you are thinking,
Hold on a second. Let's just make. Hello, this is Brian. I have no idea what that is. I don't know. That's weird. I think somebody's ass dialing me.
could be Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, or it could be Randy Savage. Of course, I think he died, didn't he?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't keep track of those guys.
Yeah,
I know one of them's president now. That's all I know.
that's another person. That's another.
He was doing that too. And one of them's the big guy who does a lot of movies now.
Yeah, that's The Rock. There we go, Dwayne Johnson. Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, I interrupted you.
So the staff and one of the things that if nothing else in your taking, we've been talking a lot about communication, whether it's communication with clients, whether it's communication with staff, or back and forth and ownership, and I think his name is Hunter Grant. Oh, how he's digging into it. That communication, I think, is a key thing. And when I was working with the staff, Mike Walter covers a lot of this, and he covers it so very well in his training. And if you're thinking about getting into the multi-system and working with a lot of DJs, this is that gold. You've got to get that. But the idea of having regular meetings with your staff and regular communication with your staff, there's to a point today with cell phones and being able to set up messages and being able to set up pages like a Google Doc where if we're going to, hey, we've got something coming up and, everyone, we're going to have a meeting and and I can have a Google Doc shared with, all of my employees. There's just so many different tools available today that weren't available in the 90s when we were doing these things. I on one hand, it's like, oh my gosh, it almost seems so easy to become to handle a multi-system staff and handle them much better than we did prior. I mean, for one thing, when we were first cell phones didn't exist. I mean, they were the bag type phones, and there was no way I could afford to have a bag phone for each one of the DJs. So when they got done at the end of the night, they would have to do one of two things. We wanted them to check in. So sometimes they would call from a payphone at the venue that they were at on the 800 number, or when they got back home, then they would call the 800 number to check in and let us know. I mean, that's what we had to do, to let us know when you get there and let us know when you're done. So we can, you're nowadays, cell phones, we can do a live chat if we had to and say, hey, I'm just about done, send, whatever.
Yeah. The days of planning ahead.
Oh yeah. Just
a long time ago, but we still do have to plan. It's just a little more vital that we really do plan ahead. If we forget something, it's not always something that you can just, I don't know. I mean, being a single op, who am I going to call?
Mm-hmm.
I got nobody to call. I got to rely on myself. But yeah, we've got so many cool ways to communicate. I think it's just a matter of being organized, figuring out the best way to communicate, what works best for, quite frankly, both whoever the lead person is and whoever the employer subcontractor is. It's got to work for everybody, not just one. It's got to work for everyone to be truly effective.
Yeah, and that is a big thing, and in this day and age, there used to be that we could have somewhat. We felt we could be kind of handle people in a uniform fashion, and now as I'm dealing with some younger people, not specifically in a DJ, but I'm working with some younger people within some things I do with Disc Jockey News and Weekend Handyman and things. And as I'm working with these folks, is that the day of being able to say, okay, everybody, here's the 5 things, and everyone just go out and do your thing. Those days are so long gone. Now it's like, okay, Person one, here's these 5 things, and I'm going to explain these things, and we're going to talk about it this way. Person two, damn it, here's 5 things. You're going to deal with it. Okay. Person three,
Right.
okay, I've got.
Well, that shouldn't
I've
be any
got-
different than when you were a school teacher.
To a point, and I guess maybe when we were doing the multi thing, is that we assumed that there was a thicker skin, and I feel that when I'm working with younger people, and whether in any kind of a leadership role, I don't feel that the skin is as thick as it used to be. And again, there's the teaching style and communication style has to change from person to person so much that. And you see this with children, as a person who's having multiple kids, and you know that this is the child that it's the pat on the back. You can do it and go. And this one's like, get out there and do it. What are you thinking? And this one over here is like, I don't know. You could do it
They're
if you
all
want to,
different, man.
and the motivating of them and getting that, communicating and getting the ideas across is just so different. And I think we're going to only see more of that as we go. And as you see manager training, because a couple of our friends in the industry have gone on and they're doing some business coaching, and they're talking about this, is that the struggle managers are having communicating with younger employees because they can't do a blanket approach anymore. It has to be an individual thing to really be able to connect with them and do what they need to do to communicate what is expected.
Yeah.
And it's just a different world than if a person isn't prepared for it.
But I mean, regardless, still, it's just so, I think, incredibly important that whatever method that you have, whether it's individually taking people aside or it's blanket, it does need to kind of make sense and work for everybody. Generally, just needs to be easy. Stop making stuff hard, everybody. Make it easy.
Yeah, I think
Just
that
make it
isn't it the KISS acronym. Keep it simple.
Please.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I think we nailed it.
Yeah, no, I think we covered that, and again, there's great resources out there for all aspects of it. If it's something you guys are interested in, Brian and I aren't experts in this area. We've experienced it from blood, sweat, and tears type of a situation, but there's people out there who, if we would have had that information 30 years ago, it would have been a different world, for us. Whether it's us on one side or the other side.
Typically the way that I used to do are they still trying to call me? Yeah, now I'm getting unavailable. I think they're trolling me here. Look at this.
Wow.
Crazy, man. Yeah, we're not answering those
Okay,
calls.
hang on a sec. No, this one went to voicemail. Can I see?
It's me. It's my fault. Are you getting them too?
Yep.
Is it unavailable? Are they trying to?
I don't know. We're gonna
ask you about warranty on your Pontiac Vibe.
I don't know. We're gonna hear it.
I can hear it from here. Yeah, it's the same crap I got earlier.
Is this our show?
Yeah, I think so. Somebody's just being a twat.
And it came from a 410 area code?
I don't know. I'm getting unavailable now because they blocked the numbers. But I'd be happy to share the number with you guys if you want to. Yeah. 410.
Yep. 526
2796. Yeah. So take that number and do whatever evil thing you do with it, because that's the one. We're getting trolled. That's hilarious.
This is funny, getting trolled live on a show. So we're going to do.
We've arrived.
If this
is like C-SPAN, it's awesome.
If this turns out to be Donald Trump's phone,
it would make sense.
Oh,
I get it.
It's our friend. It's Paul from Paul from Maryland.
Paul from Maryland. Who's Paul?
I will put his full name into the chat there. I don't know if we should be. We'll probably just leave it alone. I don't know what's going on with that.
Oh, I don't know him.
Yeah, I think you've maybe you haven't talked to him. Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, he's an idiot. Oh, you're a moron. Get a life.
Why in the world?
How's that, Paul?
Yeah.
You kid?
No, he's about a 50-year-old. Yeah, he's
Oh, he's a grown man. He's being stupid.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
I don't know. I can't imagine.
Does he get laid ever? Or Paul, stop screwing with me, dude.
Yeah.
It's not like I go to Burger King and knock the spatula out of your hand while you're flipping burgers. So leave me alone when I'm trying to do my show. How's that sound? Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Been called out.
Okay. Let's continue on. There's a couple of different things I wanted to hit, just as the general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I hit what I wanted to hit.
Oh yeah. Now that we'll get into. First off, interesting thing that was reported today on out of a Minneapolis news station. They were talking about a recent study with brides and such, and how more and more couples are moving away from venues such as hotel catering. The percentages of hotel weddings are at their lowest they've been in like 15 or so years, or just a long time.
Really?
The number of people who are getting at just reception venues is also at a low. The number of people who are booking barn weddings, they were saying about 15 to 17% of the couples are now getting married in a barn or on a ranch or in a like a vineyard type of a situation.
Yeah.
And that the idea is that they're going with a simple, more rustic, and in some cases less expensive. So I thought this was an interesting thing. I've got some of my friends who work in venues. So I made a phone call. Turns out that my friend who used to work in the venue doesn't work there anymore. Why is that? Because they had to cut back. Why? Because they are not seeing, first off, the number of weddings, and we've kind of touched on this before, there's fewer weddings than there were 5 years ago. There's no question about it. If anybody says they're not, well, look at the marriage rates. The marriage rates are at an all-time low. The most popular venues in one of the communities that I used to work at consistently isn't the big hotels anymore. It's this little building that they rent out the whole building. You pay them, $1,000. You get to use the building and the chairs and the tables. Well, what about food? Bring in your own food. What about alcohol? Bring in your own alcohol. Well, what do we get for the building? You get the building, the chairs, and the tables.
Yeah.
That's it. And that place is booked every weekend because of of what they can, just simple, cheap. And so we have a kind of a change going on here. And it's going to be interesting of how, as DJs, we evolve to that, and we keep seeing, and people talking about doing love stories and doing the uplighting, and you see Jeremy Breck as an example doing incredible things with his show, and different people are doing these incredible shows, that are shared, like in that I am a DJ page, and some of these guys are putting on the incredible. Are those days numbered, or is that going to always be there?
I don't know.
I mean, I would love to think it's always be there. I loved it. I just did it for prom. 3 huge shows with uplighting, and it's like, oh my God, this was a lot of fun. It was really cool. And then I get to my first wedding here coming up in a couple of weeks, and what are we doing for lighting? 0, no lights. Second wedding, okay, what are we doing for that one? Oh, we have 0, no lights. And it wasn't because of them charging more for it. It's like, yeah, no, we weren't really plain simple. I think of my summer weddings, and I think I have 8 weddings booked this summer, which is way more than I want to do, by the way. I think I might have lighting as a component at maybe 2. That is more than just. And some of the other ones, what I'm going to do is, when I really didn't want the lighting, I might have, for a couple of them, I might have like 4, put the ADJ Pocket Pros on the stage, type of a thing, a light like that, and let those cook.
Yeah.
Just to keep me entertained.
I always keep it simple with lighting. I mean, I don't really talk too much about it with my clients. Like, yeah, I have some lighting. It's fine. And I go simple with it. But no one's ever said to me, we want more, unless they want architectural lighting.
Yeah.
In that case, we're doing it. But for dance floor lighting, no one's ever asked for more.
Mm-hmm.
And what I bring in, I keep it so simple. It's just... I don't know. It's priorities for the client. The important things to them seem to be kind of getting through, and it's always the dinner. God, getting through the dinner and all the talking. And once I work that out and I play the handful of songs that they want to hear and get through the special dances, just have at it. That it seems, and it doesn't have to be this big thing. I think bring your lights down, put on some cool lights. Sometimes less is more anyway, and people have a good time generally. I don't know.
Robin mentions
barn weddings here too. It's not just by you. It's happening.
Oh, yeah.
People in the chat room are saying that they're seeing it in Florida. They're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah, that Robin talking that people are turning their property into venues here. I think my first barn wedding I did was about 15 years ago, and it was 2 hours away up in northern Minnesota, and it was like this Rat Lake barn where they forever had summer polka parties, and it was barn for a few years, and it spent its life as a venue, and it was just camping and that, but no one else had a barn wedding, or no one else had one. Now, as Robin said, you've got these farms where the farmer retired and they sold the place, and they sold it to someone who's living in this, working here, commuting an hour here, and they're looking at this barn and like, well, what can we do with this? I mean, it's a beautiful building. We don't want to, and then, let's make it a venue.
It seems to me, and maybe it's going to change, and maybe it's state for state, but speaking of these barn weddings, it seems like it's very much the Wild West for these folks who are facilitating these barn weddings, because a lot of them are stepping into this, it seems to me, with zero experience in hospitality. Like, it was literally a farm that grandpa had, and now it's a facility for barn weddings. And they don't have that knowledge that you get at a more structured hall.
Oh, for sure.
With staff who's done this, with hospitality managers and F&B people, and it's different. So one problem that I had at 2 barn weddings that were last summer, I think, parking was an issue. They didn't have facilities for parking. So you had to come in and set up and then park your vehicle remotely and then take some kind of shuttle back to the facility.
I hate that.
What I hate about that is, I like to keep spares in the truck. I don't want to drag it all in. I mean, nothing huge, but if I got a little cord or whatever, now I can't do that. I got to drag all that crap in and find a place for it. I don't like that.
Yeah. That's even at any venue. I like it when I can park right outside the door. That way, if I need to run, I can go grab something. But when I have to park and then shuttle, or when you're doing a backyard wedding or out at a farm, a couple of summers ago, I had a few of those, and last summer I had one out at the lake at a resort. Yeah, you park and then you have to go walk the ceremony had to go like 500 feet from the road to around the house up to the lake, and then over at the campground, we had to go that and park down the road, and there's no parking because it's really not designed for having 200 people there. And
the other thing that was kind of weird was like, you have these farms that have been the family for years, and it's like, oh, it's our property. We've done all kinds of cool things out here. We're going to have these events here now. And they do. But then what happens is the farmer across the street decides they don't want to do that. They sell their property to a developer, and it's a subdivision. So now you got noise problems.
Yes, very quickly.
It sometimes you are in the middle of nowhere and nobody cares, and go ahead and scream as loud as you want. No one's going to hear you. You know what I mean?
Right.
But other times, even if it's a rural area, I live in a city, so things sprawl. And you could get a subdivision popping up right next to one of these places real fast, and then you got to be real careful with your sound system, and there's noise complaints, and oh my gosh, I don't know if these are regulated. I don't know. I don't know.
Just a few that are around here that I've been finding out that I didn't even know they existed. A couple of them have been here for a long time. No liquor license. They ignore basically. The local municipality kind of somewhat ignored them, and they don't do that. And it's like, how does this work? Do you have insurances and such? Are
there exit signs anywhere?
Yeah, it's like,
what's going on?
But they function on that, the good neighbor policy, and that's great up until the point that someone gets hurt or killed, and then there's a lawsuit and they lose everything. Or if
you're trying to come in as a professional vendor, there's a place near us that Big Wrong was talking about it. I've never played there, but there's it opened up recently. Some family who has it, and the DJs could not use the main barn doors where the big ramp was. They had to go up this winding flight of stairs with their equipment.
Okay.
Why? Well, that's policy. So DJs killing themselves carrying everything upstairs, and as soon as they get up there and they're setting up, all of a sudden, the guy delivering the alcohol comes right up the ramp and through the main doors with his cart. Well, why couldn't I do that? Well, DJs like to bump the door with their equipment when they come in, so we don't let them do it anymore.
Thanks for that.
It's those kind of things that we have to now deal with. So I'm wondering, I mean, as much money as they want to save, or they may be saving by having these events at places like Barnes, perhaps we should charge them a little more for the hassle, because it happens.
Oh, for sure.
I sometimes these barns pull it off wonderful, but you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's an unfamiliar place. Geez, maybe I want to charge more for that.
Yeah, that's certainly a. But then there's that part of that DJ mentality that, but if I charge more and if I say it's because that's the whatever, then they're not going to book me, and I got to get the booking.
That's fine. I'm to that point where if you don't want to book me, that's just fine. You call the next guy.
Yeah, there's the door.
And see if he'll give it to you, because I ain't doing it.
Yeah. Very true.
It's interesting, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it is a phenomenon. It's happening.
It is, and I think that's something that, for those who aren't experiencing it, they will be seeing it. And that's truthfully, that's one of the reasons why I have, and you guys have seen some video on it. I've got the ELX 200, the 10, and the 12. That is going to be the system that goes into the barn. I'm not going to carry my 18-inch subs back up the steps. No. I did that last summer. I'm not going to do it again. 10 tops, 12 subs, and if that 4-speaker sound system can't do the job, it ain't going to be happening with me.
You also have probably, I mean, like, again, they're just kind of on the good neighbor policy. You don't know what you got for power.
Yeah, then there's that.
Although we're pretty efficient now, but still, you don't know how clean it is. Nothing.
Yeah. That's where you get that little device that Ben's speaking of. Katie was going to get me one of those. I got to put that little device that cleans the power and tells us how bad it was. And yeah, she's going to get me one of those. I've got to get a hold of her.
I would get a hold of them on that.
Yeah. It's not like they're busy or anything this week.
No. Well, they always got something going.
They do, but
whatever. What are you going to do? Wait for them to not be busy? You'll never get anything done.
You missed the spring cleaning show we just did, where Ben, and if you guys were on that show, you email customer service at nlfxpro.com. They've got a list of clearance things that they were pulling out of the warehouse, and they have hundreds of things on this list, and they were getting tens of thousands of hits today from this. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, Ben said he broke the internet.
Yes. There's a lot of good stuff.
Go, Ben.
Yeah, Ben broke the internet. Actually, it's funny that Ben's account got banned for a period of time.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, with his messaging.
Oh, jeez.
Question, do you guys charge for your sound system based on how many people are at the event or are the customer's needs? From my standpoint, I'm going to use the sound system that's needed for the event, and if it's something more than my typical, I'm going to charge accordingly. Most of the time, my sound systems are a 4-speaker sound system, 2 subs, 2 tops. I don't really care if I'm bringing the 18s or the 12s. I'm going to bring what's the best situation for the venue and for my situation. A hayloft wedding doesn't need to have 18-inch subs. Most of the time, the hayloft areas aren't that big, and they don't want to have sound going everywhere. So I'm okay with that. If I go a smaller sound system, that's my prerogative if it's a backyard event. But I'm also pricing a backyard event that I show up, 15 minutes before I start playing and go a lot differently than at a wedding in which I'm there for 8 hours. So it really, I don't charge by the sound system per se. It's just the need.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets
huge,
big, I do. I mean, but if we're looking at under 300 people, I'm not worried about it. Yeah, it's a needs and wants thing. It really is. I mean, how much work is it going to take me to pull this event off for you successfully? And do I have to bring staff in to pull this event off successfully? And what's that staff going to cost me to bring in?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking about. I don't care how many people are there. I don't. It's work. How much work is involved with this
Very
job?
much so. That's probably how I price things now more than before. How much is this going to take away from my life?
Right.
Am I going to be sore the next day?
Oh, no, we're really easy. We're really easy. Oh, by the way, can you do this? And can you do this? And can you do this? And can you do this? What?
Yeah. And Chris there from True North, it's, I think the time frame was something I did at one time, and there's part of that obviously into it. But if it's going to be a difficult event, and it's what it's going to take out of me for the weekend. I mean, I've got some events that are lined up here for late fall, starting at 2 in the afternoon, and we go till 10 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm going to be more aggressive in a situation like that, price wise, to a point, than I would be someone who wants to go from 4 o'clock to midnight or 5 o'clock to 1 a.m. Because at 10 o'clock, I'm out of there in a half hour. I'm back home by 11:30, whatever it is. I haven't killed my whole weekend. I've killed one day, and I can still have quality family time on Sunday. If I'm up until 1 o'clock, and then I have to travel back, and then I don't get home till 2, and then I got to wind down, and then, there's definitely the rate really, I think is, how much does it take out of me? And that's not a great way to price. And when I do in 2 weeks, when I do the pricing of how to price your DJ service for the convention series, this is not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about ways to do it intelligently and not based off emotion and based off how much it takes out of our hides. But pricing is a fickle beast, and it can be done a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And I like pushing play on my phone too. Actually, if I'm using my phone now, I'm using the watch to control the volume and the sound because I can do that. That's pretty cool. Anyway.
Well, are you still getting calls? Because I think mine stopped.
Yeah, I think mine did too. I think we've insulted Paul. He may never call us back again. Gosh, I don't know why we were
come on.
I don't know why we were such badasses. I remember when we used to be nice people.
Yeah, and you met me. I screwed you all up.
We just...
Because I'm such a mean person.
You are.
And I'm the guy who deserves to be trolled
by
anonymous nobody.
Well, we get trolled on our cell phones, and then we get whoever was doing the things on the two on the. I mean, this is pretty good. We had 3, and from what Howie saw, he thought that the online person or persons were different than the person here on our phone. So yeah.
Ooh, it was a planned attack.
Yeah, it was a coordinated attack.
Wow.
Russians. Crap, we're going to be investigated now by the White House.
Go figure.
The legal team is going to be investigating our show. Hey, but we might have some really good, if they can, get on the news that it was a planned attack against our show. We might be able to get some really good watch or view time.
You talk about us on
CNN tomorrow.
CNN and Fox, maybe. Then we can.
We could do them both. If we could find a third one, we could do a hat trick, CBS or somebody. Anyway,
couple views out of that.
Alrighty, well, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. We'll be back. There'll be more things going on tomorrow night with Jeremy and Dave, and Thursday night with Casey and Brian. And then, of course, we're getting close to summer, so we're going to have some tweaks and changes for the summer. We'll be talking about that more starting next week as we get things kind of hammered out of how summer of 2018 is going to look for us. So have yourself a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you later. Good night, everyone.